Welcome, ladies and germs. This is the Common Cast coming at you, not live, actually. This is actually recorded. My name is Torque.
My name is Edge, and with us today is our good friend.
That's right, it's me, Gibby, brand new, straight to the show. And, glad to be here.
Yeah, you get to see him on some other content that's coming out this week. Some fun new shows that we came up with.
Anyway.
Exactly, mainly my ideas.
Ha ha ha, yes. Sad as that is. Anyway, today we are talking about Hell in a Cell. We are going to give our overall thoughts. At the end, we'll give a score out of 10 each individually, what we liked, what we didn't like, and all that bullshit. So, let's get started with the first match, which is Edge. Give it to me. With no lube.
First, I want to bring up the pre-show match, because this is a match that was, by all rights, a throwaway match, but I was thoroughly entertained with it, because Cesaro is awesome. Am I the only one who watched it?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, well, basically, Cesaro had an awesome hot tag. Neville won it with the Red Arrow.
Alright, I actually saw that because of Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter kind of spoiled most of it, so we're moving on from that. That was a decent match. On to the U.S. Open Challenge from John Cena. And who answered the call?
Alberto Del Rio!
I gotta say, not someone who I anticipated at all.
I think it's someone I totally forgot.
I'm glad to see Alberto Del Rio back in WWE because he left on such a sour note. So, in that regard, cool, he's back. I mean, I would have picked other people to answer the U.S. Open Challenge, like Sami Zayn or Daniel Bryan, but they could still be injured. So, this isn't bad. I mean, it caught me off guard. I mean, I like to be surprised about these things.
I for one, am very glad Alberto Del Rio is back. I didn't take it into consideration because I did see they were considering bringing him back. Should have brought that into consideration. But I'm glad he's back. He has the weird manager, which I don't like, but oh well.
Zeb Coulter.
Yeah, Zeb Coulter. I don't like him. But the match was short. It was a little weird. Alberto came out, and it was like the match was just kind of short, like a Monday Night Raw.
Following that note, I mean, kind of like Trevor, once it happened, I wasn't surprised that it was Alberto Del Rio, because I had heard the same thing, and I also heard rumors that he wasn't coming back for Lucha Underground, which was where he was wrestling before, and he hasn't been on ROH, and so if WWE is in talks and you're not going back to the company you're working for, that generally means WWE has got you. So I'm not surprised that it was him once his music sounded. One of my problems with it is the Zeb Coulter pairing.
Yeah.
Because first of all, at least for me, it ruined the surprise. Because as soon as Zeb Coulter came out, no, let me rephrase that. As soon as the music hit, and it wasn't Jack Swagger, and it was Zeb Coulter, I'm like, they're not bringing Jack Swagger out after Zeb Coulter.
Yeah, no.
So it was only going to be Alberto Del Rio or a surprise that no one would see coming.
I mean, at that point, he was talking about, the U.S. Championship, doing amazing things with it, and what I was thinking in the back of my mind is, well, I know that Kurt Angle is not re-signing with TNA, so I thought, what if? But then he's like, Alberto Del Rio, and tried to do it like Ricardo Rodriguez used to introduce him, but didn't really succeed at that. But then I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, it would have been cooler if it was just his music hit and he ran out there.
Exactly. That would have been a better surprise. Was my point to that.
But this is the interesting angle I am kind of happy with, because I want to see Del Rio continue like the U.S. Open Challenge, you know, and then ultimately maybe do this at a pay-per-view down the road. And when Cena's done taking time off, like for the Open Challenge, one night Cena's music hits and he takes the title back, and then they can feud until Mania for it. Like,
All right, and let me go to what my problem was with the match in general. Yeah, it was short, but like WWE with that match, after having a moderately good reveal, all right, it was just toying with my patience, and they're basically tried to take most intelligent fans for a ride and must think we're idiots. There's no way Cena got beat that easily.
no.
Like, I mean,
And
neither man broke a sweat.
the general
during
issue,
that match.
the general issue that I had with that match is that I know they're not going to have Cena tap out for a very long time. And Alberto Del Rio's finisher is a cross arm breaker. So either, and you can't really pass out from a cross arm breaker.
Unless
so
you passed out from the pain, in theory.
But
That's pushing it.
That's
is my
really
point.
pushing it, especially since the match was so short. I mean, and then I was thinking, like, as he was walking to the ring, I'm like, okay, he's definitely taking the U.S. title, but is he really going to win it off an Enziguri? Like,
Exactly.
really?
That's his only other move.
Yeah, he has kind of a super kick, an Enziguri, and then the cross arm breaker. The cross arm breaker obviously being the most solid of his finishers, but I mean, sure, he has the U.S. title now, and it's cool to see Del Rio back. So it isn't awful.
It's weird to see Cena on like the Open Challenge on Raw kick out of like at least one finisher, and then he comes in and does like one finisher. It's like, oh, that sort of finisher, and like, oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
then
it was funny.
hold on. One of
Like,
the big,
and the other.
fucking hell. One of the big questions I'm having right now is Del Rio a face or a heel?
Well,
I would answer that with he's a face because he's teaming with Zeb Coulter, and Zeb Coulter was like, hey, everyone from every race or, nationality, everyone should band together. So
Oh yeah.
they're either gonna do like an ironic heel thing where they think they're the good guys but are really being offensive, like the New Day,
yeah,
or they're supposed to be faces.
because I mean, Del Rio was a heel for majority of his run in 2011, wasn't he? Like when he was feuding with Punk.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I liked his face run better, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
he was heel.
probably his world heavyweight title runs, like in 2012-ish, I think, was probably better for him. But I ultimately remember his feud with Punk just because Punk was in it. Like, that's the problem, is that I feel Del Rio, this is why I like where he is now, because I feel when he has, like, the world title, he's kind of like, he's a talented guy, but he's just like, I don't see him as like a super draw. Now with him as holding the U.S. title, he's a high-class opponent for Cena, who's taking the title off of him and continuing the trend of that title getting its value back by being on high-value people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I know what you mean. But let's not talk about, or let's not forget to talk about the backwards or the backdoor politics that brought Alberto Del Rio back. Because you know what the WWE realized they needed? An ethnic superstar.
Yeah.
And I don't like, because I mean, yeah, they have the New Day, but they're currently heels, and like, but all of their main characters are white.
Yeah.
And Roman Reigns is the only one who's ethnic, and like, he's essentially white the way he acts. Like,
Yeah.
they needed, and like, and but here's the other thing: is you're going, well, they already fired Alberto Del Rio. There's no one who's not either black or white that pops into my mind as deserving to be in WWE. It's only Alberto Del Rio. So really, if you're gonna say, if WWE is gonna say we need an ethnic superstar, they can really only take Alberto Del Rio. Like, unless they want to sign Rey Mysterio again. But, like, let's be honest. Rey Mysterio's out of here. Alright? And the other thing, or not out of here, he's just a little bit too old. And he's already had that way over. Alberto Del Rio has never been, like, over. Like...
Mm-hmm. Well,
and no, one more point real quick is that I know what you're thinking. Hey, Gibby, you have guys like Kalisto and Sin Cara. They're ethnic. Hell, they're Mexican.
Well,
why don't we push them? And to that I say, I don't know.
Well,
like WWE is disguising this, and they're saying it's easier to take an already semi-established star like Del Rio instead of building their younger talent and putting over the young guys, which obviously I have a problem with.
Everyone should have a problem with it. The thing is that the point I was going to make is that Del Rio, it's good. I'm liking where he is, but he did win a Royal Rumble. So to say that he wasn't he didn't reach a point where he was over.
No, that he was being pushed. That didn't mean he was over.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And and I've watched a majority of his career. He's never been and very few superstars are, but he if you're gonna grade the scale, he's never been Rey Mysterio over. And that's what most people should attain to, because you're never there. A handful of superstars are gonna be Hulk Hogan or The Rock or Stone Cold over. If you're gonna be over, Rey Mysterio is about the bar you should be setting for yourself.
Yeah. So, general consensus on the U.S. Open Challenge match. The match itself, not very great, but good to see Del Rio back.
Definitely. And there's room for, there's potential in Del Rio being back.
Torque, your thoughts?
Oh, wow, am I still here? I liked it. The reason I'm not talking is because I don't know that much about Alberto Del Rio, but I am happy he's back. I know we were talking about, how it's sad we're depending on old superstars to come back, but Alberto Del Rio is not that old, and...
No, he isn't.
No, he isn't, and I'm glad he's back. I'm very glad he's back. And to what I have to say is, why don't we push Kalisto and Sin Cara? Well, Sin Cara is Mr. Botchamania, and Kalisto is in a tag team with Mr. Botchamania. So, there's that. But, Kalisto has the potential to become the next Rey Mysterio, but I'm getting off topic. Anyway, I'm glad Alberto Del Rio is back. I do not like his manager with him. That's just weird. Anyway, your thoughts?
Next match. It's Roman Reigns, Bray Wyatt. The match that I was looking forward to the second most.
Yeah, and I said on the previous podcast to counter Torque's rooting for Wyatt that I said I'm gonna say that Reigns was gonna win it because I still feel like they're trying to push him towards maybe another WrestleMania. So him winning now, ending this long ass feud, it's been going on for a while. I'm actually glad to see that it's over. During the match I was thinking I don't really care who wins this as long as this feud is over. I don't care.
I wanted Bray Wyatt to win because he hasn't had very many wins in his career. The only wins he's had is Dean Ambrose recently.
And everyone beats Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
But
sadly.
And I really like Bray Wyatt. I like his cult thing he's got going on. His character is awesome. And then it's just kind of like Roman Reigns. I just don't like Roman Reigns. I just think he's uninteresting and boring. And I wanted Bray Wyatt to win on the 10% chance he had, but I think I knew Roman Reigns was going to win that.
But this is the thing. This is the thing I've realized about Bray Wyatt, and this pay-per-view really proves my thought about it. Is that it doesn't really matter how many times Wyatt loses. He's still going to be an intimidating figure just because of his entrance, his character, his interviews, his promos, his group of giants that he walks around with. And this pay-per-view,
monsters.
Yeah, this pay-per-view really exemplifies just how impossible to bury Bray Wyatt is. And we'll get to that later on, but the match between him and Reigns actually wasn't bad.
I enjoyed it.
For a Hell in a Cell match, I have to say it was better than Orton and Cena last year. That match was barely a Hell in a Cell match. You could have had it be a tables match and it would have been fine. This year, it was a Hell in a Cell match. We're going through tables, we have kendo sticks, we have people bleeding. I was sitting there and I was thinking, hey, they're actually having a Hell in a Cell match. This is cool.
He stuck a chair in the fence. That was pretty cool.
This match, going into it, like I said, I wanted it to be the best match on the card. In my opinion, it wasn't, but I going into it because I like both superstars, especially Bray Wyatt. And if you look at the two talents, they should have at least give it a running for best match on the card.
Yeah.
But it ended up being, I was pleasantly underwhelmed and pleasantly surprised at the same time. It wasn't the best match on the card. It wasn't terrible, but I think a lot of the execution was sloppy. I remember, that's something I didn't get to say about John Cena, but in John Cena's match, it looked like he knew he was getting time off after this.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't bring his A game, all right? And
yeah.
I feel like both guys in this match didn't bring their A game. And really, I think very few people, maybe it's just the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, I feel like very few people brought their A game. It sounds like Cesaro did, but Alberto Del Rio did, but even though he didn't really need to. But Cena didn't bring his A game, and if Cena doesn't bring his A game, then that automatically is sinking a pay-per-view, because he's really the biggest star on the card. All right?
Yeah.
But then, if you have everyone else pick up the pieces, this was your chance to pick up the pieces after another underwhelming performance in the first match. Besides the surprise, it was underwhelming, match-wise. I was pleasantly surprised because we saw new things, but we also saw terrible execution of those things. There was one, this isn't necessarily new, but Bray Wyatt did his little leaping where he lands on an opponent with his back.
Yeah, the running senton.
Yeah, the running senton, and he ended up hitting Roman Reigns with his head, not hitting the full thing.
Yeah.
And there was the spear into the table. It looked like it hurt, and it looked kind of realistic, but Roman Reigns wet noodled, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But not wet noodled. He stiff noodled.
They looked like they were spooning at one point when they were laying down.
And that's the other thing. You could hear Roman Reigns say something to Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. There was a couple times where I was like, I think I can hear them talking. There was a few times through that match where
But right there, you could clearly hear. Well, you couldn't clearly, but you could definitely tell Roman Reigns said something. I couldn't make out what he said, but I'm pretty sure it was "Hey, go home" or something like that. It's time to hit the go home cue. We're ending the match.
Yeah.
And then the final, the biggest one that just about ruined the match for me is the spear that Roman Reigns delivers to end the match.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Bray Wyatt's chest. he aimed that spear so high it was essentially like a clothesline.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, like, I will give the spear a little bit of credit because I feel the spear that Reigns has been doing is really, really underwhelming. But geez, when he comes bouncing off the ropes like that, he looks like he's gonna tear somebody in half. Like, if he can just aim it properly, then that could be a very over finisher for him.
yeah, exactly. A spear's a good move, but that was very that specific one wasn't too good.
Yeah, but ultimately, the amount of tables that were broken, the amount of kendo sticks that were used, it was a solid match. Like, that's the note I have written down, is it was Reigns beats Wyatt, solid match. Like, that's the notes I have written down for it. So, general consensus on that, solid match. Kind of weirdly, poorly executed, but overall.
If I were to put it like on a scale, it would be a C minus. Like as far, it depends what scale you put it on. Actually, if you put it on like a Raw or SmackDown, then yeah, it was like A minus. If you put it on a pay-per-view, B minus.
Yeah.
If you put it in a Hell in a Cell scale, it was C minus. Like, it's what you expect out of a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, I'd say.
But it didn't go above and beyond.
I'd give it a C+, the grade that got me through high school, so it's tried and trusted.
I would give it a C+ as well. It was pretty solid. And I think what really gave us the C+ was that it's the reef that this rivalry is over.
Yeah.
Fucking finally.
Alright, but that shouldn't give you a C+. If anything, that should push it down. But I see where you're coming from.
Anyway, let's go on to the next match. We've been talking about this for a while. What's the next
match? It was the Dudley Boys and the New Day. Like, this was the one match where I was like, wow, I am shocked that this actually happened. And here's my disclaimer. One of the videos that we put up later this week has me talking about this exact match, but it was recorded before it. So there are a few things I'm going to say in that video that are no longer accurate. So just ignore that. It's just me rambling pretty much.
Alright, and I don't blame you at all. Like, this didn't go at all the way any of us expected.
But hey, it was like, the New Day went over. Like, I was excited. I was like, yes, this is how you should have used the Dudleys. You have a new tag team go over on the Dudleys. I mean, the New Day beat the Dudleys. Holy shit. That alone should be enough to carry the New Day for a while. And it wasn't by DQ. Well, it kind of was by DQ. I mean,
it wasn't enough to really count.
It was a dusty finish.
It was a dusty finish, but they are heels. Like, they're the joking heels.
So they get to do that.
Yeah,
if you're a heel, you get to cheat.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm just happy that they get to retain the titles and we get to continue to see them hold up Monday Night Raw. Like, if they didn't have the titles, I feel like they would kind of disappear for a little bit, maybe come back later to feud with a lesser tag team. But since they still have the titles, we get to see them still. And they're still going to be entertaining us.
Unicorns.
Yeah,
fingers on the head. Did you see Kofi's
unicorn
shirt? Did you see that? It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. That was my favorite part.
I feel like I did, but I don't remember it. What did it say?
It was a bright blue shirt. It had Xavier Woods, it had Kofi Kingston and Big E as cartoon characters riding a majestic unicorn. It was great.
And I hate to say this, but like really, because I don't know, I'm mixed about saying this, but in my opinion, this match was the second best on the card. Like, because it had a great opening promo. I mean, who doesn't want to have some tromboners in them? Like, I mean, come on. It was a great promo from the New Day. I liked the Dudley Boys' attitudes during the match.
Mm-hmm.
I do have I think the match should have ended with the Eddie Guerrero-esque trombone throw. Like, I feel like that should have been... Because then, now, you kind of... because now the Dudley Boys don't really have a claim to a rematch, because really the trombone didn't hurt too much, right? The majority of it was losing to the Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah.
So, like, it's at best like a half dusty finish.
But I mean, like, as far as this goes, do we really feel like the Dudleys should have another rematch? I mean, they've done this for like 3 big shows in a row. Like, they did it at Night of Champions, they had it at Madison Square Garden, they had it tonight. Do we really think that they need to go for round 4?
No, I don't think they need to go for round 4, but it's something that would give where the Dudleys come up tomorrow and they go, hey, assuming that the match was called for disqualification because the ref thought Bubba Ray hit Kofi with the trombone.
Yeah.
If we're assuming,
I mean, like, maybe if they did one of those fatal 4-way tag team things at the next pay-per-view, that could be cool. I mean, I've always been entertained when they have that many tag teams going at once. Like, they manage to pull out all the stops when that happens. So maybe the Dudley Boys could come back. Dudley Boys. Is it the Dudley Boys or the Dudleys? I can never remember.
Either, but like
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, like, if they came back and did a fatal 4-way style tag match, those are always entertaining to me. So I could, in that regard, I could see them having another match for the titles. But I don't feel like they need another New Day Dudleys tag match for the titles.
No, there's not really a basis to go off of that. They got their rematch and they lost pretty cleanly. Like, it wasn't the trombone that made them lose. It was the Trouble in Paradise, like Gibby said. But the other problem I have with it is, like, what other tag teams are there that are interesting?
Well, let me name a few. We have the Lucha Dragons, which had a hell of a debut and have faded off since then.
No,
the Primetime Players, who were actually...
The Lucha Dragons, okay. I don't even think they're a thing anymore. Like, they lost to Sheamus and Barrett, like, on a SmackDown or a Raw or something, and it was, in my opinion, the Lucha Dragons should have won because they were a tag team, and these just seemed like a random pair that won automatically.
Well, here's another possibility of who could face them, and then this one is probably where I think they're going, mostly because on NXT, Enzo and Cass have kind of stopped doing what it is that they're doing. I feel they're grooming them to move up to the main roster very soon. And just imagine the promos of Enzo versus the New Day. Just think about that.
I have a question for you two.
Okay.
Right? Maybe the most important question that I ask all night. What's the big deal with Enzo and Cass?
Can you say that again real quick?
Enzo and Cass.
And let me say.
Okay.
I've seen their work. All right. They're brutally average to a little bit above average at times. They're brutally average to above average at times. So what is the big deal? What's the big deal with them?
The thing that I like about them is that for a while they've had the uniqueness in their entrance where they're talking through it, which isn't a new thing, but the fact that you can get the crowd saying it along with them is enough to keep the crowd invested in them. So they're able to control the crowd, one thing that tag teams are not often very good at, part of the reason why I like the New Day. They have a good tag team dynamic. Like, you just have the big guy and the small guy, so they cover all ends of the spectrum when it comes to matches. And then I just like their matches. Like, when I see Enzo and Cass go up against Blake and Murphy a while back, which they didn't win, but it was by dusty finish. Like, when you saw those two going up against that tag team, you're like, these guys are money. You could put them against any tag team and it would be believable. So I like them because I'm able to sit down and be like, yeah, it's an Enzo and Cass match. Yeah, I can get behind this.
I like it because I look at it and it's like you look at them both and they're very unique and it's something you wouldn't expect would make a great tag team, but it's kind of like you look at them and it's like that's a tag team. That's not like I think they're awesome and Enzo and Cass bring just something soft to it, you know. It's just something very unique and hasn't been done before, and I feel like they're executing it very well. Plus, like Edge said, you know, they're having, like, the entire audience is with them on their entrance, their promo. And, I mean, it's a long promo, but the fact that everyone has it memorized is pretty sick. So, I mean, I like them, and plus, I enjoy their matches. I mean, Cassidy lifting up Enzo off the top rope is a little weird, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And I just find him entertaining and fun.
And I mean, in a tag team division where there are a lot of tag teams that are just like two wrestlers that do almost exactly the same thing, like even the Dudleys do this. You can say that, yeah, they're two different people, but in complete honesty, what's the difference between them outside of one's black and one's white? Like, they do the same moves. They do all the same stuff. I like Enzo and Cass because there's two different wrestlers that could get over on their own, but since they're together, they're able to get over even easier.
I'd argue that because there's been a run or two, or not run or two. There's been Cass. He kind of I think it was probably when Enzo was hurt. Cass went on his own a little bit. Like he didn't mention he was part of. He didn't mention he was part of whatever SWAFT, whatever their tag team is.
Soft.
Sorry.
SAWFT. Soft.
Yeah.
And where he didn't mention that really, he just singles wrestled, and that's actually when I first saw him. And really he wasn't that good. Like, he's not big enough. Like, he's just a little bit not big enough to do like a big man style for it to be believable.
He's 7 feet tall.
No, but I mean like muscular wise.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
like he looks like a little bit bigger version of a muscular tall Shawn Michaels a little bit. Like there's a leanness to him where he's not Brock Lesnar, Hulk Hogan thick. Like almost like The Rock type thickness.
Yeah.
Where The Rock couldn't do a strongman style. And so he can't really do a strongman style, and we're getting way off topic from Hell in a Cell. So I'm just going to pull it back and say, overall, that my biggest worry if they're coming up to the main roster is not necessarily their promo skills, but they might not be good enough wrestling wise, because that's my biggest concern with them.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I mean, I can see that, but I mean, we're getting way off topic here talking about Enzo and Cass.
That's for a different podcast.
I'm just saying that's where I think they're going with this, because if they didn't have them win the NXT tag titles, then they're probably moving up to the main roster, and I just see them doing that because they're huge in NXT. So overall, I'm happy the New Day keeps the titles. Botch of the night probably goes to Devon for that sidewalk slam Famouser-esque thing that they tried to do, and it just failed horribly.
Oh, anyway, yeah, I remember that.
No, it was pretty bad. But anyway, let's get on to the next match, because we've been ranting a while about the tag team division.
The next match is a short one, because I think I'm the only one who watched it in its entirety, and that's Charlotte and Nikki Bella for the Divas title.
I didn't watch it because I didn't give a shit, because Nikki Bella is a fucking joke.
I mean, I'll give my general thoughts on this. Is that I thought this match was going to be... I knew who was going to win going in. But again, I can say the same thing about other matches where it's like, yeah, it's really obvious who's going to win. This match wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, on this podcast, it's very common that we bury the Bellas. Like, that's not a thing that you have to think very hard about. But Nikki brought it. She brought it very well in this match. I'm going to give her credit because I didn't have very high expectations, and she made it at least a believable match. Believable.
All right, because me and Trevor didn't watch this, I'll defer to your judgment on this question. Was it a good enough match that should they face each other again, we should watch it?
No. I would say that their arc is done with this match.
No, but I'm saying I understand that. I'm saying should they face again?
Should they face again? Like, in the near future, I wouldn't say so. I mean, there's a good enough dynamic there where you have the two strong divas, I guess, and I use air quotes for that, where if they were to match up again in the future, you could probably get money from it. You just have to...
You're missing the point of my question. I'm asking, as people, because, like, the reason I didn't watch it is because, and the same reason Trevor didn't watch it, is we had no faith in it being a good match and worth our time.
So,
should we watch it? Was it a good enough match to go, hey, maybe the divas aren't so bad?
No, I wouldn't say
exactly.
that. Like, since you know the finish, since you know the end of the match, it's kind of like there's no point to go back and watch it now. I'm saying that maybe it was good enough you can watch this matchup in the future, like future matchups they have, but this one...
Alright, there we go.
Yeah, this one, no, I wouldn't go back and watch it.
Because that's my big thing, is like... And I'm just naturally, I don't know. I don't think I'm biased against the wrestling aspect of women, but like, I think in general they can have good matches, but for whatever reason, and I don't know, I wish I could change it, their matches aren't as good as the guys. And so like, even alright, go.
It's the Bellas. I can't get over it. I mean, we've
Alright,
seen...
alright, so let me finish my thing then. My what I was saying. Because even in NXT, like, I see good Divas matches in NXT, but at the same time I go, at best, if men had that match, that's a B- match. Or it's a B+. Like, I'm one of the few people, unpopular opinion, I didn't get on the Bayley Sasha Banks train. Like, by a Divas match standard, it's an A+. By a guy's match standard, B+, maybe breaking into an A-, I guess. I don't know, I'd have to rewatch it, but like, I was underwhelmed most of the match, because I went in looking at it from a pure wrestling, overall, overbranching scale. And I was underwhelmed by the match, really.
Well, here's what I'll say to that. And, like, yeah, I would say that if that was a Superstars match, it wouldn't be the best match of all time. But there's a problem with that in that women's matches don't go even remotely like the same way that men's matches do. Like, it's the way that they fundamentally wrestle. It's like there is the women's style and a men's style. Like, even if you let them wrestle, they're still not going to do exactly the same moves that a superstar does. Or like a superstar, if for some reason you want them to wrestle like a diva, they're not going to do the moves exactly the same that a diva would. So in that regard, yeah, if it were a superstars match, it wouldn't have been that good. But also to that point, it's not a superstars match. Women's matches will go very differently just because it is a women's match. Like, that's a fact.
Alright, so I guess that my overall I mean, that kind of answered my overall question, but like, as per this match, Charlotte versus Nikki Bella at Hell in a Cell, it's not, in my personal opinion, until women's wrestling can hold its own compared to men's wrestling, I can't watch it. And it's not that they're bad necessarily, because obviously they're good by a woman's standard, and I don't mean that derogatory, because I believe women can have as good a match as men, but I feel like there's too much pressure even for people like Sasha Banks and Bayley to still act ladylike in a sense, because let's be honest, you like Vince McMahon, Paul, like whoever's running, they don't want Charlotte to be better than John Cena. They don't really want any women being that sort of superstar, because then that takes away from their male draw.
Yeah.
And wrestling has been built on male draw since the beginning of time.
I mean, I guess I'm able to enjoy these matches just because I don't really go into it thinking like just on a baseline wrestling level. I mean, I do, but when I'm watching a women's match, I'm not looking for the same things that I am with like a Superstars match. I mean, maybe that's just me, but ultimately, and the match was good. It was better than I thought it would be. It's not worth going back and watching though, because like we know Charlotte wins. Like, I knew that going in. People know that now for sure. That's just general thoughts on that.
Are we done on that then?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, is there anything else we want to say about that?
My point was made on the matter, on the match.
I mean, my personal thought is that match can be summed up with 3 words, and those 3 words are, we want Sasha, but that's a totally subjective personal opinion, which is why I will not.
Before you get into that, let's go on to the next match.
Actually, Torque, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to go... No, this is a quick, shameless plug for ourselves.
It's never quick.
It's a quick, shameless plug for our promotion. While you're listening to this right now, unless you like, pull out your phone, pull out your laptop, go to your Twitter, follow @TG Commoncast. @TG Commoncast. It's our official Twitter. I'm literally on it right now, tweeting to you guys that we are currently filming. All right, we're currently recording this here podcast here at Commoncast. So go hit that follow button, and you'll be hearing a lot from us from the future. All right, go Torque. Next match.
Okay, that was actually completely different than what I was thinking you do. All right, let's go on to the next match, Edge.
This match, probably the most underwhelming, and it's surprising because it had the most on the line, in my opinion. And that's Rollins and Kane. I don't even need to start with my problems with Kane fighting for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
No, we don't. It's not something that should happen. It's nothing we need to get into. But it ended like we all thought it would. Rollins wins. It was very underwhelming, the match.
See the problem with them, like Vince, here's the problem with his mentality about this, is that he thinks that bringing back these old stars to compete for the title is going to bring ratings up, because it's like, it ups the drama. They're these big stars from another day coming back and competing with today's young gun. But really, we're all sitting here and thinking, he's not going to win the title, so Rollins is just going to retain. So what's the point of watching this match? And they can say, well, he was going to lose his job as COO. First of all, he's not the actual COO. He is on screen. And secondly, he has another persona, and that's the demon that we want to see anyway. So if he's not corporate Kane, if he can't be that anymore, we get to see the Kane we want to see anyways. So really, there's no reason whatsoever that someone should say, yeah, Kane was going to win this, because there was no facts backing that up.
All right. I have one. I agree with you mostly about your analysis there. My one problem is that you mentioned, well, obviously Kane isn't the real COO. That doesn't matter. This is a storyline. I'm looking at it from a storyline perspective, and as far as a storyline's concerned, he's COO. So I mean, this to grade it on the criteria. You can't grade the match bad storyline wise by going, well, he's not the actual COO.
Yeah,
Kayfabe, he's the COO, and that job means something to the character Kane.
Yeah, but
now, using background politics, being a smart here, we can figure out that the COO was just a basic framework to get the match going. But I mean, to hold it against the winner to hold it against Kane that he wasn't actually going to lose his job is a little unfair. I'm not saying he should have been in the match. I'm saying storyline-wise, that's the reason they were in the match.
Well, luckily to my point, even if you were to cut the storyline out of this match 100%, the match itself still wasn't good. So it's all around garbage, in my opinion. Like, Rollins brings his A game every time he's in the ring. Kane, I feel like he tried to bring his A game, but it's just they just didn't meld well together. The stakes didn't really seem real to me, and the match itself, I was just kind of waiting for Rollins to hit the pedigree and pin him. Like, the rest of the match was just, it was filler for me. That's basically my thoughts on it.
I don't have many thoughts on it because I mean, I watched the match, but I didn't get into it. I didn't pay attention. Oh, when's this gonna happen? I knew Rollins was gonna win. So let's just go on to the next match real quick, since that was pretty underwhelming.
I got to debuff a little bit Luke's point. I didn't get an actual say in the match, but
okay.
I mean, this is the third best match on a card that wasn't too good in my opinion. All right, but so overall, I'd give the match a solid C. It's what you expect out of a pay-per-view match. All right, it had decent high spots. It had a decent ebb and flow to the match. The problem, and it told a story that wasn't necessarily about wrestling, but right at the end, you have, and maybe I'm getting too metaphysical, all right, and maybe whoever's writing the storyline didn't plan for this, but right after Seth Rollins hits his three knees, gets Kane on the ground, and then hits his frog splash deal and kicks out, and then Kane kicks out. Seth Rollins kind of has an what do I have to do moment that for whatever reason happens almost every match nowadays, but he has that classic, what am I going to have to do to beat this guy? And then you can hear him. And then he kind of comes to a realization. He's just a man. He's just a man. And he's been saying it the whole time, but this time he's actually saying it like he believes it. It's not like the false heel bravado. It's he's just a man. And then immediately just goes, puts him in a pedigree and lays him down. From a storyline, if you look at that from a storyline perspective, that holds meaning. He mentally beat Kane where Kane didn't have the demon type, kind of like how Brock Lesnar how Brock Lesnar mentally at the first WrestleMania was over the Undertaker. Undertaker didn't have that power, doesn't have that power over Brock Lesnar that Undertaker is a dead man or that he's immortal. Seth Rollins got over that mental block for Kane. So I find that important from a storyline perspective.
Yeah, that's actually that's an angle I didn't even think about.
Deep in the heart, Jesus.
I mean, ultimately,
I could tell by the silence. No one tried interrupting me or anything.
I mean, ultimately, just based on that as well, it's I'm just glad to see that Rollins is being taken seriously, I suppose. Because I guess there's a place for the cheating heel, but ultimately you got to get tired of the guy who just cheats to win all the time, and then he's up against these opponents that we know isn't going to win anyways. I'm waiting for it to happen, and I know it's going to happen. Maybe in the near future that Rollins he's gonna turn face and he's gonna be the biggest guy. If he's not already the biggest guy in the company, he will be after that.
I mean, if I can put on, and I promise, Torque, it will be quick. If I can put on my Booker hat for a second, and
Okay.
just say, really, what the two stars that could become huge off of turns, Seth Rollins could. I truly believe Seth Rollins, if he turns face within the next 6 months, before he gets stale, like you said, Luke, before he gets stale, if he turns heel in the next, or face, I mean, in the next 6 months, he could skyrocket to a Stone Cold like, and I don't mean like a storyline or gimmick wise, but literally a Stone Cold like run.
Yeah.
Where he's the biggest guy in the company, and it's not a question. He surpasses Cena as a face. All right? And I think the guy to do that, and preferably in some sort of double turn, is to have Roman Reigns turn heel at the same time. And then I think we have a classic Stone Cold Steve Austin Rock type deal where the Samoan Roman Reigns follows his cousin The Rock in the heel role, and Seth Rollins is the Stone Cold type role. Obviously not gimmick wise, but in the same way that one's a monster heel, one's a monster face, and they're both going at it. And really, that's the way you put butts in the seats.
Yeah. Like, the position is the same as, like, Stone Cold and The Rock. It's just the people doing it are different.
Exactly.
But I totally agree. Like,
I'm very excited. Because I know,
and it has to happen in the next few months. Like, it has to. I mean, there's been fantasy bookings for a long time about how Rollins could turn face. But right now it's really looking like he could do it.
It's crunch time.
It is crunch time. And off of this championship match, they said something interesting in the commentary, that this is the 210th day that Rollins has held the title. Here's a question I pose to you two. Do you think that Rollins is going to WrestleMania with the title?
No.
I think it's dependent on whether he's heel or face.
Yeah.
If he remains heel, I do believe he will be champion until WrestleMania. If he turns face, partly what turns him face, really the only thing at this point that could turn him face, is he needs to lose the championship.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be like the kick in the backside that gets him to change his ways, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if he's heel, then yeah, he goes into WrestleMania the champion. If he isn't, if he's face, if he's a pure-blooded babyface, then he won't be. He may be in the championship match, but he won't be the champion going into WrestleMania.
Yeah. I agree with that, in that he needs to lose the title before WrestleMania. Like, I don't know who he could lose it to. All I know is that he needs to lose that title and start the face turn before WrestleMania. Because putting him as the heel champion in the main event of WrestleMania for the championship, then we're starting to get into the territory where one of two things happens. Either he wins and we get tired of heel Rollins, which terrifies me that will happen, or he loses and suddenly his momentum is stopped because he was a heel on top of the world in the main event of WrestleMania, and now he's just lost his title. Like, he's already on top of the world as a heel, so what's the point in him turning face? Which is why I feel he needs to lose the title before WrestleMania.
All right, this was supposed to be quick, but it obviously wasn't.
Ass,
I broke my promise. But hey, Edge got in there too. It wasn't just me running with the ball.
Yeah, you can throw me under the bus.
Quick, but this is quick, and then I'll throw it right back to you, Torque. Brock Lesnar he went in heel champion, WrestleMania 31, lost the title, and obviously he's just fine. So to your point, you're gonna be like, hey, Seth Rollins isn't Brock Lesnar. I know that, but I'm saying it's possible for him to come out at the end.
And before Edge even starts, we're running pretty long, and we still have 2 matches.
All right, well,
we need to get on. So,
all right. Then want me to move in, or do you want to say your final thoughts real quick?
Well, let's just move into the IC championship.
It happened. That's my consensus.
I didn't watch the match.
I
knew Owens was gonna win. Owens won. He was my favorite. He is my favorite wrestler. I just didn't see any interest in the match because I like Ryback, but he doesn't put on an A+ match. Anyway, let's talk about.
Well, here's real fast.
You need to give us time to talk, Torque, even though we give you no time to talk.
The IC title match was not an interesting match by any right. What was interesting was the crowd reaction, because Ryback traditionally, at least like when Torque and I went to SmackDown, he got a pretty positive response when he entered as the IC champion. He walks out in this match, and he's getting booed. And it's like not the middle ground, maybe there's some people cheering him. No, he's getting booed. I heard Goldberg chants. Like, really? Ryback's character is in danger. Like, his career and his character is in danger again. But Owens, on the other hand, he was getting cheered like he's the babyface. Even though he's not. Like, he was not booked as the babyface at all, but he's the one getting cheered.
Because Owens is by far better than Ryback on so many levels.
On a wrestling and character scale. Pretty much every scale.
Yeah, but I just thought...
I'm agreeing with you, Torque. Continue.
I
just thought it was interesting that he's getting booed.
I actually find that very interesting, and I'm sure Vince will turn Ryback heel again, and it'll go on.
All right, and I don't have much analysis on the match, but I do know the one thing that I have problem with it without even watching it. All right, backstory: I tuned into the pay-per-view late, about an hour and a half late. So like I said, in order to make up time, I skipped the Divas match, and I was gonna look just right at the end of the IC match, alright? And I skipped ahead 15 minutes from the end of the World Championship match. I skipped ahead 15 minutes, and they were already into the Undertaker Brock Lesnar promo. Yeah. So that right away, they didn't give either guy enough time to have a good match.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this matchup is like, it's a shame because it seems like Ryback would be a guy you can put with almost anybody and it would be a decent feud, but it's turning into, it's not who Ryback is going up against, it's Ryback. That he's just not a good person to put against people. He's just not interesting. So, my consensus is it happened. That's my thoughts on it.
Exactly. Let's move on to obviously the biggest talking point that we're going to take the most time on, undoubtedly.
And
the main event.
And we're sorry if this is running long, but there's a lot to talk about from this match, and especially what happened afterwards, but we'll get to that in a minute.
And really, I'm more interested in the match, because this is a psychology. This is psychology where we might have to get a little existential here. Alright, just like we did with the Seth Rollins Kane match at the end. And I feel like a whole lot of booking where we're feeling underappreciated, or we're underappreciative of The Undertaker and the length of which he is playing this character. Alright? I talked about it at WrestleMania 30, or with WrestleMania 31, which obviously you here listening on Commoncast, you wouldn't have heard ever. but talking to my friends, WrestleMania 31 was an important match for The Undertaker, and because everyone's complaining, he didn't show up at all until the final match, and then until WrestleMania just to do the match, whatever, all this complaining, and then he doesn't even have a special entrance or anything.
And I mean,
and I told you guys right at the end of the match, I told you guys there's a purpose to that. The Undertaker showed up like nothing was wrong. He showed up, and he basically, and in his mannerisms, without saying it, he was telling Bray Wyatt, "You're not important enough. I don't need to show up and play mind games with you. I don't need to have a special entrance to freak you out where I blow up a casket with lightning. I don't need to do any of that. I'll show up, I'll beat you, I'll walk out," which is what he did. All right, and you have to take those nuances into that match that you're assuming, like that sort of existential, above and beyond what's being shown obvious right in front of your face. But I'll throw it to one of you guys to take it before I continue.
Well, first off, Lesnar won, which there's arguments on either side of who should have won. I'm personally in the Lesnar camp. Like I said that before on the last podcast, that I felt Lesnar needed to win this. I mean, for the love of God, it's called Brock Lesnar's Go to Hell Tour. If his Go to Hell Tour ended with him losing, then it's not a very exciting tour. But the match by itself, at the end of it, I was thinking, yeah, Lesnar won, but ultimately, that was just so good. Taker could have won, and I wouldn't really have minded. Like, there was, like where I said Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt was a Hell in a Cell match. This was a Hell in a Cell match from the get-go to the very end. In fact, the key point that I wrote down is a low blow, and then payback is a bitch, because how Taker got the dusty win at SummerSlam because of a low blow. Now Lesnar is like, yeah, I'm going to hit you with a low blow because it's legal now, and also because I know I can. Like, kind of the same thing, where with Rollins and Kane, Rollins realizes he's just a man. Lesnar has fully accepted that Undertaker is just a man, and that's why I feel he's so good at beating Undertaker, because he's just like, he's just a big guy in a trench coat and a funny-looking hat. So this match, it had that storytelling aspect in the same way that we've been talking about.
On the subject of the low blow, real quick, let's appreciate that the Undertaker sold that low blow to a T. That's how every guy reacts when getting hit in the balls.
Yeah.
It wasn't a little petty fall over grab for a little bit. He sold it like a man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go.
And then, like, the finish, this is actually, I didn't see it coming. I had seen the ring torn up before, but I hadn't seen it torn up in this way, where Lesnar, he finds a tear in the ring, and then he just starts ripping the mat off, and we're like, what's he doing? He pulls the covers back, and there's just boards of wood, and we're all like, okay, we know what's going to happen. He's either going to get choke slammed on it, or somebody's going to get F5'd onto it, and that's going to be the finish. And that was. So, believable finish, I would say. I'd say if I got choke slammed or if I got F5'd onto solid boards of wood, it would not feel very good, whether I am a dead man or not. So I'd say it was a solid finish to an overall solid match.
It was a better match than I was expecting, because, like, I went back and watched their WrestleMania match, when Lesnar first beat the streak, and I watched it, and I wasn't, like, it was okay, in my opinion, but then but the next match at SummerSlam was a little better, and this match now was the best one they've had so far. I mean, Lesnar started bleeding, like, 2 minutes into the match or something. That could be fake or whatever, but still, it was It was a
I'm
really
thinking-
good match. It had F5s.
I think from a wrestling standpoint, this match was once again, following the theme of this pay-per-view, sloppy. To piggyback on what you said, Torque, where Brock Lesnar was bleeding in 2 minutes, that's because Undertaker jabbed his head into the ring post. And they showed a replay of it, alright? And even in real time, you can see quite obviously Brock Lesnar gets his hand in the way, alright? Which means someone either made a mistake replaying that, or I don't know. But his head did not make contact with that steel post, and then suddenly he's bleeding from the top of his head when he would have been hit in the forehead anyway. So he cut himself in the wrong spot, and then he didn't even make it believable that he got hit in the right spot.
I mean,
And then let's not forget, alright, how with when the Undertaker was getting beat up, and then Brock Lesnar got the steel chair, the steel steps, and then was gonna bring it down. Undertaker had his he rolled out of the way a full second. Like, Brock Lesnar had to slam it down as hard as he could just to make it look like Undertaker was already out of the way before Brock Lesnar even started to really slam it hard. And then the same thing when Brock Lesnar was going to do it again, and Undertaker put his feet up. Undertaker's feet were up to block it before Brock Lesnar was even started bringing it down.
I mean,
so it was a sloppy match from that
Okay, I
perspective.
did forget about those points. My bad. I didn't see the replay. I must have gotten like a sandwich or something. I didn't see the replay. I
mean,
guess I was hungry.
in regards to those spots, yeah, I would say that that's where the match got sloppy, but it did make up for it in other places. Like, every time somebody hit somebody with a chair, that's, like, I'm not questioning that that's believable. I'm like, holy shit, they're beating each other to death with these chairs. Like, they even did a replay of one where Lesnar hits Taker, like, clean in the side, like in the shoulder area with the chair, and Taker just drops, and I'm like, you can say that that's a work, but I'd be hard-pressed to tell how they were able to work that if it was.
No, I believe they were hitting each other with punches, with
Yeah.
everything. I mean, they weren't throwing 100% haymakers, but they were throwing 80% bombs that were connecting. Same with steel chairs. Brock Lesnar on his left side at the end of the match had two big bruises on his left side, and you're like, well, that's where he got hit with the steel chair. He got hit. There's no faking that.
Yeah, so in regards to the high, like, they aren't really high spots, but the spots with, like, the steel steps, yeah, it didn't really look super believable, but at the same time, spots like that in general don't really look super believable. But
But they can look semi-believable with a good execution, and there wasn't good execution, so
Yeah.
they didn't look believable at all.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. But I'd say it's still probably the best match of the night.
Oh, definitely.
It doesn't get botch of the night. That still goes to the Dudleys, in my opinion. But so the interesting thing now is that there's the question, obviously, where does Taker go from here? Because
he goes and he literally, like, where he went got decided for him. He got stolen. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, there's speculation that perhaps he's the one that takes the title off of Rollins. Maybe. I don't know if I see that happening. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Just briefly.
I can't see that happening. I mean, if he does get the title, he can't have a long title reign for it. I mean, he's just getting a little old. You know, I just don't see it happening.
All right, and I want to get back into that, like, metacognitive realm that I was talking about with this match, but something that annoyed me up until Yeah, up until it started, up until the later parts of the match, is the Undertaker wasn't really selling with his eyes. Like his body, or like the way he was moving his body, he was acting like he's hurt, but his eyes were always just straight open. Like
Well,
like he looked like a like, and I was thinking, well, he like his eyes, his body said wrestler that was getting beat up. His eyes said old man that was in over his head.
well,
All right.
to be fair, that's kind of how the Undertaker. That's how his eyes look all the time, anyways. Like that's kind of part of his character that
No,
he just
but
has that 1,000-mile stare.
no, but it wasn't even a stare. Like there was, and I'll explain it. But what I think was going on with the way that the Undertaker's eyes were always open, like even when he was on the ground getting beat up, whatever, like when he was knocked out, his eyes were always just straight staring. I believe that was supposed to happen. That it was sort of like, we've already established that since the Undertaker's come back after the WrestleMania loss, especially against Brock Lesnar, he's not really. We've established that he's mortal. His character is a mortal being.
Mhm.
All right. And we saw that in SummerSlam where the Undertaker had to cheat to beat Brock Lesnar, and after tapping out for the first time ever. If you saw that the Undertaker was human, it was when he tapped out. All right? And so then he had to cheat in order to win. I think that was more, the stare was more of that inner, of the man coming out. The man that is the Undertaker's character, not Mark Calloway. It was the Undertaker's character where he kind of realized during the match, hey, maybe I can't do this. But at the same time, it's kind of like the old country westerns, I would say, where I don't know any specific, I can't think of any specific movies, but where the old gunslinger knows he's going to go down because he's facing 50 people, but he's going to pull out his gun and he's going to take as many of them with him. That was kind of what I thought the stare was at the stare at the beginning. That's what I thought. This was the Undertaker going, wow, maybe I can't beat Brock Lesnar. But then the stare at the end, the emotion in the eyes was more, well, even if I can't, I'm going to give him everything I've got. And that's where I appreciate it from a storyline standpoint, because you could kind of see it was brief if you weren't paying too close of attention, but it was after the match, the cage was up, Brock Lesnar was kind of like on a knee outside with Paul Heyman, and he was looking up at the Undertaker, and the Undertaker was kind of half sitting up, and the Undertaker pointed and stared and pointed with locked eyes with Brock Lesnar, pointed, and it was kind of a sign of respect, and Brock Lesnar kind of nodded a little bit, and
No, like that at the end, I totally did notice that. When he had his finger up like that, I was thinking, yeah, that's him offering his respect. As far as Lesnar taking it, I don't know, but Lesnar kind of had that look like, holy shit, I just did what I just did. Like, his win at WrestleMania was suddenly paled in comparison to this win, just based on his expression. But yeah, that's, like, I agree with you I agree with what you're saying about that, where we have established that Taker is mortal. And then, to piggyback off of that, there's the question of where is Taker going from here? And when I looked at the time when this match was over, and I saw that it was 8:44, the pay-per-view ended at 9 my time, and I'm like, no, it's not over there. Somebody's going to come out. Somebody's going to enter. Someone's going to walk out here and start a feud with Taker just right there.
And I guarantee, because it was what I was thinking, it was going to be Sting.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was thinking, I'm waiting for the Crows. I'm waiting for it. And then Wyatt family entrance. And it was the whole Wyatt family, which that right there I like. Because think, when is the time in the past where we've seen Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, and Braun Strowman all in the same place at the same time? Usually it's just 3 of them. But now all 4 of them are not only healthy, but also in this storyline at the same time. My prediction is that that the Survivor Series match is going to be Taker's team versus the Wyatt family. And who would be the 5th member to that? My guess that I told Torque right after this was, I think it's going to be Adam Rose as the Leo Kruger character. And they're kind of hinting at that based on his little 30-second promos that he's been giving on the Titantron on various Raws or SmackDowns. Would we say that's plausible? I think it's plausible.
It's definitely plausible.
I think it's going to happen. I don't even think it's possible. I think it's a definite.
All right, let me take you through the thought process. As soon as the Wyatts, entered. All right, so immediately the guy I was watching with, he thought that Bray Wyatt, because he kind of has the Undertaker-esque character and he's the younger generation, he thought there was going to be like a symbolic passing of the torch where the Undertaker was going to give it to Bray Wyatt and go, yeah, pick it up. The guy needs, or words, where the Wyatts pay Undertaker tribute, hey, good job, and then the Undertaker kind of bows to Bray Wyatt, like a passing of the torch that way. And I was like, no, they're gonna attack him right away. Because how do you get heat? You attack the Undertaker that literally just had everything taken from him.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
And it's a neat angle from my perspective, because we, based on what we said earlier, Brock Lesnar has proven to the world that Taker is mortal. Bray Wyatt, when he was facing Undertaker at WrestleMania 31, definitely did not think he was mortal. Like, if you go back when he mimicked the Undertaker's entrance, when he got the urn, Wyatt had the mentality that Taker was this deity, this demon-esque character that is unbeatable. So if he beats him, he'd take his rightful place among the gods, and I use air quotes for that because that's what he literally said. Now, Lesnar proved it. Taker's a man. And so Wyatt walks out and he says, this is my chance. This is where I can prove to the world that I am the new face of fear. And so they attack him. And I really think that it could be maybe Wyatt as a rematch for Taker's last match, and it'll be at WrestleMania.
And that's definitely a possibility. But to continue, so after they started attacking Undertaker, which I knew was going to happen, then I think, okay, someone's going to come and save him. Immediately I thought Brock Lesnar, because they just had that, in my mind, mutual respect thing. So now Undertaker, that was kind of like half and half. So now Brock Lesnar's going to come out, they're both going to fight off the Wyatts, and then they'll have like an actual handshake or something, and then, hit the showers. All right, so then Brock Lesnar doesn't come out. Next I'm thinking, well, Kane?
Yeah, I was thinking Kane.
He's fired now.
In fact, even the crowd, there were a few people chanting Kane.
Yeah.
When all of them were wailing on Taker in the middle of the ring.
And so then after Kane, then I thought, well, maybe Sting comes out and then saves Undertaker, and then they can build off of that relationship for a match later. But But after they literally beat The Undertaker senseless, carried him out crucifix style, and I think to kind of something similar to Luke's idea, but I think Bray Wyatt is he's obviously holding The Undertaker captive. And what I think he's doing is he is going to try and assimilate Undertaker into the Wyatt family. He's going to say, Undertaker isn't human. I control is human. Undertaker is human. I can control humans. I have 3 humans I'm controlling right now, and that's how he's going to prove he's the new face of fear, by bringing the old face of fear into into his family. I'm not saying I'm not saying he's going to be successful at it, but I don't think Undertaker is going to escape the Wyatt family's control for a while.
Yeah. I feel they're going to have a long program with Taker and Wyatt. And I also anticipate that this WrestleMania will be Taker's last match. So putting him up against Wyatt, we all thought that was going to be a great passing of the torch for him at the last WrestleMania, but the setup was kind of like the setup and the finish, and the follow-up afterwards was not really passing of the torch-esque. This is starting the build-up a couple months in advance. I could totally see this being either where Taker goes out on his back and puts over Wyatt, or wins his final match and just rides off into the sunset. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, anything is plausible at this point. Anything's possible. So, that's my idea. I would like to see that storyline where Bray Wyatt tries to get Undertaker, holds him captive, mind games, tries to get him to become part of the Wyatt family.
Yeah, and that very well could happen. The fact that the Survivor Series, the next pay-per-view coming up, is Taker's 25th anniversary since he debuted at Survivor Series in 1990. So I don't know if they're going to have him they're probably going to give him a win at Survivor Series because, hey, it's his 25th anniversary. So that's why I think perhaps the Survivor Series 5v5 tag match would be a good way to do that. But no, he could totally give in. He could totally be manipulated by the Wyatt family and be assimilated in. I could see that happening.
Well,
I just don't know if I'll see it happen soon.
Very quickly putting on the booking cap, and I'm serious this time, no rebuttal from any of you people, because we've had quite a long enough episode of Common Cast, as Torque, who has to edit this. But putting on the booking cap, if Undertaker assimilates, then you could have a future storyline where Kane faces the Wyatt family to try and get his brother back. And then you could have a storyline where Kane gets beaten by The Undertaker in a match at Survivor Series, for example, where Undertaker, under Wyatt's control, gets beaten or beats Kane, and then Kane faces The Undertaker, Kane faces Bray Wyatt at the next pay-per-view or something along those lines, and Bray Wyatt wins. And then finally you can have Kane bring out the urn, and the urn gives Undertaker his power back, breaks the spell of Bray Wyatt. Undertaker is now, for storyline purposes, a phenom. He is something supernatural again. And then the Brothers of Destruction could face the Wyatt family in a handicap match. Something along those lines.
And WWE, you can have that one for free. We will charge you for it.
Alright, well,
In fact, I challenge WWE to do it better.
Alright, we're not here to steal catchphrases from whatculture.com.
Okay,
was that from what culture? Oops.
So,
Alright, that's
I'm
a
sorry.
shameless plug.
because we are running incredibly long now, like it was long when we got into Lesnar Taker, now it's even longer. Final thoughts out of 10 for the pay-per-view. I'm going to say I give it a solid 8 out of 10. I liked the Lesnar Taker match. I'm glad Rollins retained. I'm glad the New Day retained. Reigns and Wyatt was better than I thought it would be. It's good to see Alberto Del Rio back, and Charlotte and Nikki Bella was better than I thought it would be. So it's an 8. Like, it was slightly above average, in my opinion. 7 being average.
Gibby, what is your out of 10?
This is a top-notch Raw. High quality, a high Raw quality. On a pay-per-view scale, not so much. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. It felt like very few people brought their A game. And I think if everyone had brought their A game, even if everything was exactly the same, or like even if the moves and the finishes were exactly the same, if everyone brought their A game, the intensity would have been ratcheted up, and the stakes would have been higher, and then it would have made the aura of the pay-per-view so much bigger. But very few people showed up with their A game. I felt very underwhelmed by the pay-per-view, so 6.5.
Torque? Thoughts?
I give it a 6. Gibby kind of just said everything I was gonna say. I mean, the best match of the night was Taker versus Lesnar, and then the Wyatt family coming out and taking Lesnar, which was awesome, and that's probably 4 of the 6 points that I'm giving it, and I just didn't find it all that interesting other than that one match. Like, I could see who was winning every match, maybe with the exception of the tag teams and Lesnar and Taker, but it wasn't all that interesting. I fast forward through most of the matches. If it's an interesting pay-per-view, I shouldn't have to fast forward through the matches. So,
All right,
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Now I just have to edit this fucking long ass. All right.
And it's gonna be so much fun.
That's the price. That's the price you pay, buddy. All right.
All right. What?
Yes, Torque. Yes, Torque.
I'm ending the video, so I'm waiting on you.
Well, I was about to end the video, so...
Tell us your thoughts of what you thought of Hell in a Cell in the comments, and hey, if you have a prediction for where Lesnar or Taker is going to go from here, feel free to let us know there, because I definitely want to hear. I have my thoughts, and you have yours.
All right.
So let us know, and give us a like, a subscribe if you will, and thank you for watching this entire podcast. We do greatly appreciate it, at least I do.
Yeah, we're getting the go-home cue here. It's time for us to go right off into the sunset. But before we ride off into the sunset, at least before I do, I have to remind you, at TG Commoncast, Twitter, look it up. That's where you'll get up-to-date news, not podcasts or videos that were filmed, obviously, or recorded a few days in advance. That will be your up-to-date news outlet for us. So, Torque, go home cue, send us out of here.
Alright, guys, let's hit that like button. Hit it. Yep, hit it like you'd hit your wife. Then click the subscribe button, stay up to date with what we're uploading. Like, subscribe, comment.
Hit
all
that
bullshit.
subscribe button with the bionic elbow, baby.